Hello, and this is Angela Saunders. I'm welcoming you to Business Mastery Show. And today I'm joined by Ray Kanoon, Ray is known as the podcast guy. He's the man who made podcasts convert into sales. He's the man behind some of the most popular podcast shows, helping people increase their listenership, leads and sales while growing authority online. Some of the people Ray has coached over the past 3 years have gone to build multi-million-dollar online businesses. Ray now excites audiences around the world through a variety of podcast shows such as the Property Investing Show, the Social Media Traffic Show, the Video Marketing Show, and the Big Fat Marketing Show. Well, hello, Ray, and welcome.
Hello, Angela. How are you?
I'm all right.
Thanks for the nice introduction.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. So now I've got some questions I'd like to ask you. And first of all, just to explain to people who would benefit from podcasting and what exactly is it?
Yeah, certainly. Well, basically a podcast is like you starting your own radio show on the internet. So if you've got a particular topic that you want to talk about, you can actually talk about it pretty much over the internet. So it's exactly like having your own. If you were to, instead of going through all the mass media companies and try to get your own show on the radio station, it works exactly the same, but you have more control. You're able to actually dictate who you want to interview. You'll be able to talk what you want to talk about, and you basically got your own radio station on the internet which you can broadcast. And that's basically essentially what podcasting is. So it's a powerful tool for you to get your message across, whether you're in business, whether you've got a hobby, whether you've got a passion that you like talking about, or whether it's even just a cause, like a charity cause where you are talking about. Recently, I just relaunched another podcast. It's called The Younger Syrians, and it's basically helping. There's a lot of problems happening in the Middle East, in Iraq. And I thought I'd get awareness out by starting my own podcast show based on that, helping Christians in Iraq not to actually get massacred and slaughtered. So basically, that's what the whole idea of that podcast is about. So you can do it through charity, you can do it through a business, you can do it through a hobby, a passion that you like, anything. You can do pretty much a podcast on anything. So the question that you asked me earlier is who would benefit from doing a podcast?
Yes,
Angela, and it's pretty much anyone who's got a topic they can talk about and they want to get a message across and create some more awareness about their brand, services, or charity or organization. So you are doing a podcast right now because you want to help business owners, right, Angela?
Yes, that's right, exactly. And I can see that how business people would benefit by doing this. It's worth taking the time to actually interview people online and draw more awareness to yourself and to them and to the world of business. And everyone benefits by the sound of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great tool to get the message across. Leveraging the power of the internet and the power of the passion that you have for that topic. So it works hand in hand.
So what kind of people can create a show?
Any pretty type of person can create a show, whether you are, like I mentioned before, whether you are a business person, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you have got a brand, a product, or a type of service that you want to actually produce. So if you're an introvert, you can actually create a show. If you're an extrovert, you'd actually do really well at this. Even if you're a person that's shy, that's essentially that doesn't like to, be out there on the internet, you can essentially do well on a podcast. I mean, why do I say that? Because when someone is a shy person and they don't want to actually be out there on the stage or live, it sort of makes them feel comfortable when they're actually behind their desk and in front of their computer and they're just talking into a microphone. It sort of takes all that anxiety out of the way, and all you are doing is basically talking, interviewing people, asking questions. So it works for it basically works for any kind of person that's got any type of passion, any industry, niche, whatever, and the type of personalities that works for Angela. It works for introverts and extroverts. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I suppose if someone has got a trade or they're a small business person and they realise that by going online they can reach a much wider market and build their brand and advertise their wares, but they know that perhaps they're not the sort of person to be able to get together content for such a website, having a video show which can be actually put on their website week by week would draw a lot of attention, and they could use it to explain their trade or their service or hand information to the public. They could use it for all sorts of things, couldn't they?
Absolutely.
And they don't actually have to sit down and think about content or typing up articles or anything like that. All they have to do is invite people to come on their show and ask them a few questions, and let the other people do, a lot of the work for them.
Exactly. Well, you can actually, what you do with that content is totally up to you. I personally know someone, her name is Sydney O'Sullivan, and what she has done as well, she has interviewed a certain amount of people. I mean, not particularly on a podcast, but she's interviewed so many people, and what she has essentially done is she's put together those interviews and turned it into a book, and that book has gone to actually make a lot of sales, and she's actually spread her message across, pretty much she's got her message out there and spread the word a lot faster thanks to doing interviews and putting content together. So what you do with this content, it's totally up to you. You can package it up and do something with it. And
yes.
One thing I like doing, which is a great way in order to generate some income with podcasting, is here's a little bit of a trick, a little bit of a tip for you guys. Okay, if you can get on other people's podcasts, okay, get them to interview you. Say, Angela, you are interviewing me, right? Okay.
Yes.
And because you've got a podcast, there's a chance that you will have a list of names and email addresses, correct?
Yes.
So once you're done with an interview, you go on someone else's show, you can always score a joint venture with them because you've built that rapport, you've built that relationship with them, and you can say, hey, Angela, would you like to do a joint venture? I have an awesome podcasting program which will go perfect with your business list. Would you like to do a joint venture? I have a webinar that converts 10%. So let's do a joint venture, like a 50-50, and you'd probably be more than happy to say yes to that because you've already got a relationship with me and you can actually you trust me, and then that business will go well together, correct?
Oh, that's amazing. And I can see how that would work for both people. But what if you are A, not online, or B, you haven't actually got a product to sell? How could you use your podcast to monetize it, to make a bit of money from it?
Yes.
I mean, is there a way?
Yeah, there is actually. Well, you can always say, for example, now you got this podcast and you're building a list through your podcasting. See, the money is, Angela, not many people actually are aware of this, or some people are aware of this, but they don't really push for it. But the money is in the list. Whenever you build a business, and you know this because you are in business yourself, the bigger your list, the more money you can make out of your list. So if you're starting a podcast and you get a certain amount of people listening to your podcast, downloading your podcast, you can always have like people sponsoring your podcast, okay, because you've got so many people.
Yes.
Or you can get other people to sell their products or services.
Yes.
On your podcast. So you can, now you've got a list and you're doing a podcast thanks to you're building a list thanks to podcasting. Okay.
Yes.
And you can get other people you can sell other people's products, whether it's affiliates or whether it's a webinar joint venture. So it does not matter. Now I've built a list thanks to podcasting. Okay. And my list continues to grow. I will be happy to actually get people to want to sell to my list, and we can do a 50-50 joint venture. Now, the benefit of that is that you don't have to deliver the product. You don't have to have any kind of product whatsoever. Okay, you have the list and you have the power. You get to dictate who you actually want to sell to your list. So they sell to your list and they do all the work and you collect 50%. So if you've got a big list, you could be quite a powerful person that makes a lot of money on the internet.
Well, that's a way of earning money apart from the business that you're running at the same time. I mean, that's an additional source of income. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So anybody should be doing a podcast and trying to build their list that way. It's a great way to create content because at the end of the day, a list is the most important thing. And how do you get that list is by building content. And the more content you have out there, Angela, the bigger your list can grow.
And it works for a hobbyist as well as someone in business or someone trying to expand their business.
Certainly.
So it works all round, really. It's worth taking the time to set it up.
Certainly. Well, I know a lot of people, Angela, sorry to talk over you, but I know a lot of people that have actually started doing podcasts and they did it as a hobby and they basically they don't realize that they had that, and then it turned into a business. And there's a lot of people that have started podcasts and turned them into a business and they make a good sum of money thanks to podcasting.
So that's an amazing way of building a business or starting a new business from scratch. So if you haven't got work at the moment and you haven't started your business, that's something to really think about, isn't it? Seriously.
Yeah. Well, what other better way than to create a podcast is to create content, create content with a podcast and get some information out there and get people watching your show, listening to your show. When I say watching, I actually turn my podcasts into a YouTube video as well. So I can get traffic from multiple different directions as well. So it's not, you get my podcast is essentially just with iTunes and you get like traffic from iTunes predominantly. And if you were to turn that into a YouTube video, you can also get traffic from YouTube. So you're basically doing the work once and you're getting multiple traffic sources.
Yes. So we're actually recording on Skype and we're creating an audio file, but I understand that it would be quite easy to turn it into a video by adding slides.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there.
How would you go about doing that? And what equipment would you need?
The equipment, as in terms of having a podcast, starting a podcast and turning it into a video. Okay, let's start with the podcast. Equipment that you need. Okay, now there's two types of setups. There's a basic setup and there's a professional setup. Now, obviously, when you're starting out, you just want to create some content and just start get it out there, and just to get the message out there. And then later on, when you actually start getting familiar with podcasting, you can start growing your equipment. Okay. Now, the better the equipment, the better the sound that you get out of you start sounding like a radio announcer, if you know what I mean. You can get that heavy, nice, big fat sound when you actually listen to radios. Very similar to that. So, when you're starting out, what you probably can use is sort of like a Logitech headset. That'll be good enough to get started, which is a USB headset that plugs into your USB in your computer, and you can be on your way. Yes. Later on, you can start getting some more complicated equipment by getting an audio interface and getting like a studio microphone. Which is essentially like you can get a condenser microphone or an analog microphone. It does not matter. But basically all you are doing, all that audio interface is, so you've got a really good quality mic and that plugs into your audio interface and that audio interface goes into your USB. So it's turning an analog signal, like an analog passive signal, into a digital signal in your computer.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So that's essentially what it's doing. And that you can with the type of money you want to spend for that, you can spend as much as you want, depending how professional you want to go. But the reality is, it does not matter. It does not matter if you got a if you got $1,000 setup, let me go even further than that. If you got a $200 setup, $300 setup, and a $10,000 setup, the results are going to be the same. So as long as you sound decent, you got good content. That is the most important thing as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. If a person is not very familiar with that sort of equipment, but I would think most people now have a computer if they're running a business. If they haven't started their business yet, they could probably borrow somebody else's or a friend's or their children's computer and a headset and get going just from that simple equipment, and just go for it, really.
Yeah.
And then, once they're making a little bit of money out of it, then they could build up to more, sophisticated equipment. And of course, as you say, once they've done it for a while and they've got used to running podcasts, then they would, be much more in control. And maybe then they could, invest in their new business and go from there. So it's within the reach of everybody, really, even if they have to borrow to set up.
Yeah, well, essentially, I mean, if pretty much everybody's got a computer these days, so
yes, that's true.
It's as simple as plugging in a headset and just get started. So, I mean, but look, that's the equipment side of things. One thing I've also didn't mention is that you need a basic WordPress website in order to actually get started as well. So you can, to set up a WordPress website, you can surely find some videos on YouTube which will help you get started.
Yes.
But if you really want to know more information, I mean, we're going to get into that. I have a program which helps people get their podcasting together, so I can certainly help out in that department, and you can just pretty much flick me an email.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, certainly. Well, you can certainly get some information by going to bigfatmarketing.com and just start watching some of the episodes, and some of the episodes reveal on how to do that. I have a few episodes out there about podcasting, and you can learn from there. I also have a webinar which you'll be able to subscribe to on that website. So if you go to bigfatmarketing.com, you'd be able to subscribe to my webinar, which will help you get started with podcasting if you want to know more information about that.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. So people can learn more by going to your website, Big Fat Marketing. They can watch some introductory videos and learn more about it. They can also look things up on learn a bit more about podcasting on YouTube. But most importantly, you're there to help and advise and guide people. And I'm sure you've got a contact address on that website too. So if people get confused, they can come to you for help and advice as well.
Yes, certainly. So if you go to the website, bigfatmarketing.com, there's a whole bunch of podcasts. Go and learn. Just listen to the podcasts. I've got some great interviews on there, and it's growing week by week, and you can be able to join us on the live show as well. So there's an option there to jump on the live show, which runs every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Sydney time. And it's on a live webinar, so you can register for that as well if you want to learn more about internet marketing. So it's all about internet marketing and all that kind of stuff. So more than welcome to do that.
That's brilliant, Ray. Thank you very much for joining me today, and the information you've given. It was certainly exciting and inviting people to learn more about it. So if they want to know more, they'll go to bigfatmarketing.com and they can take it from there. And thank you for being a wonderful guest on my show. Thank you very much.
Anytime, Angela. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, brilliant. Bye for now. Speak soon.
Take care.